I used to believe that the slow unraveling of a relationship would come with shouting matches, slammed doors, or long dramatic pauses like something out of a soap opera. Turns out it can start quietly, so quietly you almost miss it. It can begin on a Thursday night with a cardboard box and a scent you can't explain. My name's Harry Fletcher. I'm 41. I manage a supermarket just outside of Atlanta, one of those places where everyone knows your name and what kind of peanut butter you like. It's not a glamorous life, but it's a stable one. I clock in, I clock out, I come home to Lana. Or I used to. That Thursday started like any other. Wake up before the sun, throw on a polo shirt, kiss Lana goodbye as she sipped her morning smoothie. She's been on this health kick lately, all flaxseed and Greek yogurt. I remember her barely looking up from her laptop when I walked out the door. I didn't think much of it. I rarely did. Mid-afternoon, the lights at the store flickered and died. A transformer blew up the road. Corporate told us to shut things down early, and for once I didn't argue. I packed up and headed home around 6, 2 hours earlier than usual. That might have been fate. Or bad luck. I'm still not sure. The house was lit up when I pulled into the driveway. I remember thinking it was odd, all the lights on, even in rooms no one used. Lana's car was parked crooked, like she'd rushed in. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside, greeted by the soft hum of jazz playing through the Bluetooth speaker in the kitchen. And then the doorbell rang. A courier stood on the porch holding a sleek white box with a ribbon. Fancy. Too fancy. He asked for Lana Brooks. It threw me for a second. Brooks was her maiden name, one she hadn't used in nearly a decade. I signed for the package anyway, trying not to let the confusion show. I called out, Lana, and she appeared from around the corner wearing a fitted maroon sweater and black leggings, barefoot, glass of wine in hand. Her eyes flicked to the box, and for a fraction of a second, just a beat too long, her expression froze. Then she smiled. Oh, that must be from work, she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. We did a secret Santa thing at the office and someone probably used my old name by mistake. That's happened before. I nodded slowly, pretending to buy it. She took the box from me with one hand and set it down on the table like it was nothing. I watched her fingers hesitate at the edge of the ribbon before she opened it. Inside was a bottle of cologne, obsidian black. I read the label. I'd seen it advertised in magazines, always paired with a tagline like, for the man who arrives before he's seen. The packaging gleamed untouched. I didn't say anything, but I took a mental snapshot of everything, the weight of the box in my hands, the way she bit her lip as she peeled back the paper, the flicker in her eyes when she saw what was inside. A card slipped out from underneath the bottle. She read it quickly and tucked it away without showing me. What did it say? I asked, my voice casual. She let out a little laugh. Oh, just something silly. Like, hope you enjoy the mystery man smell. You know how Ryan in accounting is always making jokes. I think this was meant for him anyway. I should probably just give it to him Monday. Ryan. She always defaulted to him when she needed an easy explanation. Ryan was the loud guy at work who cracked inappropriate jokes and still thought pranks were funny. If she ever needed to explain away a weird text, a missed call, a gift, Ryan was her safety net. I nodded again, but my mind was still on the card. The way she'd hidden it. That wasn't normal. She turned her back and walked toward the kitchen. I followed a moment later and noticed something else. There was a bottle of Cabernet open on the counter. One of the nicer ones we usually saved for anniversaries or dinner parties. It was half gone. 2 wine glasses sat in the sink. Only one had lipstick on the rim. We celebrating something? I asked, trying to keep my tone light. She poured herself another glass and shrugged. Just felt like it. Long week. She didn't offer me any. Normally she would've. I scanned the kitchen. The dishwasher was running, the trash had just been taken out, and the counters were wiped clean, too clean, like someone had been prepping for company. There was still a faint aroma in the air. Cologne. The same scent I'd smelled last night when I climbed into bed and she was already asleep. I remembered pausing, wondering if maybe she'd sprayed something new in the room. But now I knew that wasn't it. And one of the pillows, it had been warm. Still indented. That little detail hadn't clicked until now. You doing okay? I asked after a moment. She sipped her wine, leaning against the counter. Yeah, why? You just seem. I don't know. Distracted. She smiled that same too easy smile. Work's just been hectic, that's all. Quarter end stuff. Quarter end. Another safe answer. Another automatic deflection. I watched her glide around the kitchen like she owned the world, slipping back into small talk like nothing had happened. But I stood there, stuck in the gap between what I saw and what I wanted to believe. The woman pouring wine wasn't the one I'd married, at least not entirely. Something had shifted. Later that night, I lay beside her in bed, pretending to scroll my phone. She fell asleep fast, like she always did after wine. But I stayed awake. I kept looking at her face in the low light, the curve of her nose, the faint crease between her brows, the soft twitch of her eyelid as she drifted into dreams. All of it looked familiar, and yet I felt like I was next to a stranger. I couldn't shake the thought. That cologne didn't come from a box delivered to the wrong address. It had been in our bedroom before the package ever showed up. It had soaked into the sheets. It had mingled with her skin. And the way she moved around tonight? Too smooth, too unbothered. It was like I'd walked into a scene she thought she had time to erase. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't even ask again about the card or the extra wine glass. I just stared at the ceiling and waited for sleep to come. My brain replaying every moment of the evening like a scene from a movie I suddenly didn't trust. Something had changed. Not in the house. In her. And whether she realized it or not, that night. The cologne, the card, the too easy smile. It was the start of something. Not the affair, maybe, but the truth of it. And once that seed was planted, there was no going back. I didn't sleep that night, not really. I closed my eyes, but my mind never shut off. I just lay there, listening to the sound of Lana's breathing, trying to match its rhythm, trying to pretend everything was fine. But my thoughts were loud, like a radio stuck between stations. I kept replaying the way she smiled when she opened that package. The way her hand hovered a little too long over that card. The way she dismissed it all like a seasoned actress. By morning, I had already convinced myself I was being paranoid. That is, until I walked into the bathroom. She'd left her phone on the sink, screen facing up. A calendar reminder blinked across the display. Wellness check-in, 10 a.m. Innocent enough, but I'd never seen her use calendar alerts before. She was more of a sticky note kind of person. Something about it felt rehearsed. A planted breadcrumb. Like a prop. I didn't touch the phone, but I couldn't stop looking at it. I noticed the lock screen had changed. It used to be our wedding photo, her laughing with her head on my shoulder, sun setting behind us. Now it was a picture of the lake near her office. Serene. Impersonal. And when I tried to tap the screen, it asked for a 6-digit code. Lana never used a password before. I asked her about it casually over breakfast. She told me it was required by corporate now, some IT policy at work. I nodded, but it didn't sit right. If that were true, she would have mentioned it the day it happened. Instead, she was already 2 steps ahead with an explanation, just like she had been with the cologne. I started seeing patterns everywhere. She'd recently started going to the gym. That alone wouldn't have raised alarms. Plenty of people take up fitness in their 40s. But Lana had always hated exercise. She once joked that her ideal cardio was walking to the fridge. Yet now, she was waking up at 5:30 a.m., putting on leggings I'd never seen, and coming home flushed and energized, like she'd been on vacation, not the treadmill. Then there was the lingerie. New pieces began showing up in our drawers. Delicate, expensive stuff. Not the kind you buy on a whim. I asked if she'd gone on a shopping spree, and she said a friend had gifted her a subscription box. It's a promo thing, she said. They sent the wrong size at first, but I kept it. She smiled like it was funny. I didn't laugh. I also noticed how often she changed outfits. Sometimes twice a day. She'd leave in one thing, come home in another. And when I asked, she'd say she spilled coffee or didn't feel like what she wore matched the weather. One night, when she went out for a networking dinner, I peeked in her car after she left. A blouse and skirt were crumpled under the passenger seat, still holding the shape of her body. No stains. No explanation. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I became an observer in my own life. Every detail, every harmless shift, started to look like a clue. I remembered how she used to call me during her lunch breaks, just to vent or share something funny from work. That had stopped around 6 months ago. She said she was too swamped now. Said she was trying to stay focused. I remembered the business trip she took to Raleigh in January. How she came home with a tan, even though it rained the whole time according to the weather app. She said they had an indoor spa at the hotel. That's when she'd started bringing home those little complimentary shampoos. Obsidian black. She said they were stocking new luxury products. Now I knew they matched the cologne from the night before. It was like every memory had to be run through a different filter now. I started checking small things. Her GPS history. The loyalty card usage at places we never shopped. One receipt tucked into the side pocket of her purse was for a boutique wine shop in Buckhead. She claimed she'd picked up something for her boss's retirement gift. But I remembered the bottle on our counter. Same label. Half drunk. Even the dog started acting weird. Jasper, our rescue mutt, used to greet her with pure chaos when she came through the door. Lately he just sniffed, then wandered off. He'd always been a better judge of character than I was. I went through old photos. At first, I told myself I was being nostalgic. But really, I was comparing. Seeing when the shift had big asterisk N. In every picture from the past year, Lana looked different. Her posture more self-assured. Her gaze more distant. Her smile more controlled. I could almost see the mask forming over time. And yet, through all of this, she never once changed how she treated me. At least on the surface. She still kissed my cheek in the morning. Still laughed at my bad jokes. Still called me babe when asking me to fix the porch light. But it felt like mimicry. Like she was playing the role of my wife out of habit. I began to feel like a guest in my own house. Like someone had pressed pause on the life I knew and resumed it with a new script. One I didn't get to read in advance. The worst part? I started doubting myself. Every time I noticed something odd, I'd second-guess it. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe I was just tired. I even Googled signs of midlife paranoia in men. That's how deeply I didn't want this to be what it was. But no matter how much I tried to rationalize, the evidence kept piling up. Like the locked drawer in her office that used to stick open. Now it was always shut tight. Or the way she would angle her phone away when texting. How she smiled at the screen in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. One night, I walked by the bathroom and caught a glimpse of her reflection in the mirror, checking herself out, turning side to side in a new bra. She didn't know I was watching. She looked pleased, proud even. Not for me. Never for me. I started taking notes. Not just mental ones, actual notes. I kept a small journal in my glove box, jotting down anything that didn't make sense. Timestamps, receipts, phrases she used more than once. At first, it felt obsessive. But writing it down helped me see the pattern more clearly. I also started noticing names. A guy named Logan had popped up more than once. Mentioned offhand. Logan says we might get a bonus this quarter. Logan's wife is in marketing too. Small world. I'd never met Logan. She never offered to introduce us. When I asked who he was, she said, "Oh, just a guy on the commercial accounts team. Kind of a dork. Totally harmless." But I'd heard that name again at her office Christmas party. When one of her coworkers joked about how Lana and Logan were always joined at the hip, she laughed. I didn't. I used to think distance was something that happened between people slowly, like erosion. Now I realized it could be engineered, built, planned. It didn't just show up. Someone laid the bricks, bit by bit. And every memory I revisited was another brick in a wall I hadn't noticed going up. What really gutted me, what made it all real, was one evening when she was getting ready for a client dinner. I watched her in the mirror as she put on mascara. She hummed to herself. A song I didn't recognize. I asked what it was. "Oh, just something from my playlist," she said, and then added, "Logan's always playing it during meetings." I smiled, said nothing. But inside, something cold took hold of me. She didn't even realize she'd slipped. That night, I didn't wait for her to fall asleep. I went to the couch on my own. I told her I had back pain. She kissed my forehead and said, "Feel better, babe." And I lay there, staring at the ceiling, one thought louder than all the rest. She's already gone. And I'm the last one who noticed. By the time Friday rolled around, I wasn't questioning my instincts anymore. I knew. I didn't want to admit it out loud. But I knew. Every excuse Lana gave had turned into background noise. Polished, effortless, and meaningless. I'd been trying to hold on to the idea that I was wrong, that I was just tired or overthinking. But I wasn't. She was cheating on me. I didn't have the full picture yet. I didn't know who, how long, how deep. But I knew. And the worst part was pretending I didn't. Pretending to be the loving husband while I counted down the minutes to the end of the act. That Friday morning, I told her I had a work conference out of town. 3 days. Hilton Head. She smiled, distracted, kissed my cheek, and said, "Have fun. Text me when you check in." That was her mistake. She never asked what it was for, who I was going with, or why I hadn't mentioned it until that morning. That's when I knew she was relieved. Glad I'd be out of the way. The moment she left for work, I went into the garage, grabbed my briefcase, the one I hadn't used since my cousin's wedding, and placed the documents inside. Divorce papers, signed and sealed. My lawyer had prepped them a week earlier, just in case. I never thought I'd actually use them this soon. I packed a change of clothes in a duffel and left, but I didn't go far. I parked 2 blocks away, windows tinted, seat reclined. I waited, watched the street. The wind shifted a few times, the sky threatening rain, and for a while I wondered if I was being paranoid again. But just after noon, Lana's car pulled into the driveway. She was supposed to be at work until 5. She sat in the car for a moment, then checked her phone. Moments later, another car pulled up, a silver sedan I didn't recognize. The man who got out was tall, with dark hair and an easy way of moving, like he'd been here before. I stayed down, just barely peeking through the gap in the dash and door frame. My heart thudded so hard I thought the whole car might shake. He walked up to the porch. Lana opened the door before he could even knock. She was wearing a white robe. He kissed her on the cheek. She laughed. They went inside. I waited 5 minutes, then got out of the car. There was no trembling in my hands anymore. No confusion. Just a numb, mechanical calm. I took the side path around the fence where the slats opened to the backyard. The grass was damp from the morning dew, but I didn't feel it through my shoes. I didn't feel much of anything. We have these glass double doors that lead from the master bedroom to the back patio, French doors, floor to ceiling, installed during a remodel a few years ago. She'd insisted on them. Said she liked the openness. I crouched behind the hedge and looked inside. There they were. Lana and the man, standing just feet from our bed. She was still in the robe, loosely tied. He had his hands on her waist, pulling her in like he'd done it 100 times before. She wasn't hesitant. She wasn't resisting. She leaned into him. Laughed at something he said. He kissed her forehead. It wasn't some passionate affair caught in a moment of weakness. It wasn't reckless lust or bad judgment. It was domestic. Familiar. Comfortable. Routine. I watched for a few more seconds, then turned away. I didn't need to see more. I walked back to my car and sat behind the wheel for a long time. Maybe an hour. I don't remember. All I know is that it felt like something in me had been surgically removed, and in its place there was just silence. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just space. That night, I came home later than usual. I parked in the driveway this time, loud enough for her to hear. She was in the kitchen when I walked in, pouring herself another glass of wine. She looked up, startled for half a second, then smiled. "You're back early." "Yeah," I said. "Conference was canceled." "Power outage." She raised an eyebrow. "You didn't text me." I shrugged. "No service." She bought it. We ate dinner together. Just pasta and a salad. She talked about work. I nodded. She laughed at a podcast she'd listened to on the drive home. I forced a chuckle. She reached out to touch my hand halfway through the meal, and I let her. She had no idea that it was the last dinner we'd ever have as husband and wife. That night, I didn't sleep on the couch. I crawled into bed next to her, let her lay her head on my shoulder. She fell asleep within minutes. I stayed awake and stared at the ceiling again. But this time, I wasn't asking questions. I was making plans. The next morning, while she showered, I removed the divorce papers from my briefcase and placed them in the top drawer of my nightstand. I didn't want to spring it on her in anger. I wanted it to be clear, thought through, final. She wouldn't see it coming. As she left for work, she gave me the same distracted kiss, like always. "Love you," she said. "Yeah," I replied. "You too." I didn't say it back. After she drove away, I walked through the house and looked at everything with new eyes, the framed photos of us on the mantel, the hand-painted mug she made me for our 3rd anniversary, the little dog-eared paperback she kept on the nightstand that I'd never seen her read. It all felt like set dressing. Props on a stage. Later that day, I sat at the kitchen table and did something I never thought I'd do. I wrote her a letter. Not because I owed her anything, but because I wanted to get everything out before I said goodbye. I didn't want yelling. I didn't want a spectacle. I wanted clarity. I wrote, Lana, you may not know it yet, but the truth is already here. I saw you. I saw him. I saw everything. What hurt the most wasn't the betrayal itself, it was the ease with which you did it. The comfort. The routine. I don't know how long this has been going on, and at this point, I don't care. What matters is that it's been long enough to make me invisible in my own home. I won't ask for explanations. I won't beg for reasons. The divorce papers are ready. All that's left is your signature. I hope whatever you found with him was worth what you've lost. I folded it neatly, placed it in an envelope, and tucked it into the nightstand, right beside the documents. Then I sat down and stared at the front door for a long time. I thought about the man I used to be, the one who trusted easily, who never asked too many questions, who thought loyalty was a given. That version of me was gone now. Replaced. Not by someone bitter. Not even by someone broken. But by someone awake. The day after I saw them, I didn't confront Lana. I didn't raise my voice or storm out of the house. I didn't even hint that I knew. I just observed. That might sound strange, maybe even weak, but I wasn't ready to hand her control of the narrative. Not yet. I needed clarity. And honestly, I wanted to know how deep the lie went. She came home that evening like she always did, coat slung over one arm, phone in hand, smiling like she had nothing in the world to hide. She kissed my cheek, asked if I wanted Thai or Indian for dinner. I chose Thai. She ordered. We ate. She talked about her day. I nodded along. And all the while, I watched. There was a new lightness in her voice. Not relief, not guilt, freedom. Like the secret had stopped feeling like a weight and started feeling like a thrill. I noticed her texts came more frequently now. Always with the screen tilted just slightly out of my view. She used to leave her phone face up on the kitchen counter. Now it was always face down. And so I adapted. While she slept, I started digging. Not out of jealousy, but survival. If she was going to build a second life, I needed to know where it lived. I started with her laptop. It was always with her, but one night she fell asleep on the couch and I carefully lifted it from her lap. She hadn't closed her tabs. One was for a countryside spa hotel she'd mentioned last week. She said she was attending a wellness seminar, one of those company retreats full of buzzwords and breakout sessions. At the time, I didn't think much of it. But now, seeing the reservation details and the room labeled King Suite with fireplace, something inside me went cold. It wasn't even booked under her name. It was booked under L. Brooks. I took a photo of the confirmation on my phone, then put the laptop back and sat in the dark until the sun came up. A few days later, I installed tracking software on her phone. It wasn't hard. I'd researched it for hours, made sure it couldn't be detected. I hated myself for doing it. It felt invasive, wrong, like I'd crossed a line I swore I'd never cross. But then again, she'd stepped over every line we built together. So I stopped feeling bad. The first notification came the next weekend. Her calendar said wellness retreat, but the tracker pinged her at a hotel spa in North Georgia. Not the one her company normally used for retreats. This one was quieter, more remote. I looked up the location, cross-checked it with her email. Nothing. But a brochure showed up in our mailbox 3 days later. I almost didn't notice it, tucked between a coupon flyer and a bank statement. The envelope was handwritten, Lana Brooks. Inside was a real estate brochure. Lakefront properties. Cabins. The kind you rent for long weekends or romantic getaways. A sticky note was attached. It read, "You'd love this place. Feels like home already. Logan." Logan. There it was. The name again. No hiding it this time. My stomach sank. The note wasn't signed Love, Logan, or anything overt. But the ** Macy was obvious. The subtext loud. I remembered that name from the party. The coworker who said it too casually. The dork from commercial accounts. I bet he wasn't such a dork after all. I went back into detective mode. I checked our joint bank account. Lana had withdrawn $400 in cash twice in the past month. We rarely used cash. I traced a few receipts she'd left lying around. One was from a boutique chocolate shop. One was from a wine bar I didn't even know existed. Another was for gas 2 towns away on a day she said she worked from home. She was slipping. Or maybe she didn't care if she was caught. Then there was her planner. Lana had always been a meticulous note-taker. Her physical planner was full of color-coded highlights and tabs. But I started noticing pages that were half erased. Notes covered with stickers. One page had a dinner reservation scratched out only for another to appear on the same date, different city. I peeled the sticker back gently. Underneath was a scribbled name. Logan, 6:30. I sat there in our bedroom holding the planner in my lap like it was a smoking G***N. And maybe it was. But what really hit me wasn't the lie itself, it was how cleanly it was all done. She'd built this other life like an architect, each piece fitting neatly together, none of it random. I began checking her email when she left her laptop unattended. Most of it was work. But deep in the archive, I found an account verification for an alternate Gmail address, lana.brooks83@gmail. I tried logging in. Failed. Tried again. Failed. But the password hint? First trip together. I tried the name of the cabin we rented for our 1-year anniversary. Access granted. I wish I hadn't found what I found. The inbox was sparse, wiped clean, but the drafts folder had one unsent message. It read, "Logan, I hate sneaking around like this. But when I'm with you, everything feels simple. I can't give you a timeline, but I'm working on it. I promise. L." I didn't know what working on it meant. Divorce? A move? An exit plan? Whatever it was, she was already 2 steps ahead of me. And yet every morning she kissed me goodbye like we were still us. I started noticing other strange shifts. She'd beg *n keeping a duffel bag in the trunk of her car. "Gym clothes," she said. But when I checked it while she was in the shower, I found a change of jeans, a black dress, a curling iron, and a travel-sized perfume, the same scent I smelled on the pillow 2 weeks ago. I opened the glove compartment and found a receipt for a key copy service. She was preparing. Not just for quick getaways, but for a life outside of this one. One morning, she left her phone on the kitchen table when she went to the backyard to take a call. I saw the screen light up with a message. "Miss you already. See you Sunday. L." I took a screenshot *T and sent it to my email. That Sunday, I told her I was meeting an old friend for lunch. I didn't. I sat in my car 2 blocks from the spa hotel. I watched her car pull into the lot. I watched Logan get out of his, walk around to open her door. I watched them walk into the building hand in hand like a couple on vacation. When she came home that night, she brought me a gift bag. Inside was a eucalyptus-scented candle and an oatmeal bath soak. "Thought you could use a little pampering," she said, smiling like it was just another Sunday. And I smiled back. But in my mind, I was already gone. She had a second life planned, rehearsed, and running in tandem with the one we'd built together. And I, the faithful husband, was just a ghost in it. A placeholder. Something to manage until her exit was clean. But I wasn't going to be managed. Not anymore. While she was gone at another retreat, I opened the closet and pulled down a storage box marked personal. Inside, under old scarves and photos, I found a bundle of letters and postcards tied with a red ribbon. Not my handwriting. Not mine at all. The earliest letter dated back almost 2 years. They wrote about weekend getaways, shared dreams, inside jokes I couldn't decode. One postcard read, "Last weekend felt like our real life. Can't wait until it is." I sat there on the bedroom floor, holding evidence that while I planned a future, renovating the kitchen, talking about kids, she had already given hers to someone else. A week later, Lana invited me to her boss's formal dinner. I went. Not to support her, but to watch her pretend. She clung to my arm, laughed too hard at small talk, kept whispering compliments into my ear like nothing had changed. But I didn't return a single touch. I was polite, distant, cold. The people around us smiled, but I saw the confusion in her eyes. That night confirmed what I already knew. We were done. Not in theory, in truth. She played the part until the end. I just stopped playing mine. The next morning I left before sunrise. No note. No goodbye. Just essentials, the divorce papers, and the dog-eared envelope with her lies folded inside. I moved into a small lakeside rental I'd secured weeks earlier. She called. Texted. I never responded. I adopted a rescue dog, started running again, relearning who I was before all of this. The peace was unfamiliar but welcome. Lana would eventually realize I was gone, not just physically, but in spirit. She had built a new life. I built one, too, quiet, honest, and finally my own.